Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Chee-Tash. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be going over the last chapter of part 2, Getting Through the Day, our exploration of parenting through the eyes of Ted Moss III, my good friend Ted Moss III. Look out, I'm parenting here, a survival guide for the single parent. I just made that introduction almost completely backwards from, instead of going title, author, chapter, I went chapter, author, title. I think that's pretty impressive. I think you should too. But anyway, guys, today, this is the final chapter of the second part of Getting Through the Day. So all these little activities from the time your child wakes up to the time your child goes to bed, and how you navigate through these significant events of your child's day. And coincidentally, today's the last chapter of that. We are going to be talking about bedtime today. Bedtime for Bonzo is what Ted titled the chapter. But before we do that, what did we talk about last time? Well, last time we talked about dinner. And when we talked about dinner, we talked about the importance of understanding your child's palate, and how your palate as a child is going to be different than as an adult. And I can totally speak to this from my experience, just my personal experience. The foods that I ate as a kid and the foods that I were attracted to as a kid are no longer the foods that I'm attracted to now as an adult. I mean, I still am, but I know what a good diet looks like, so I tend to stick to those foods. So when I was a kid, I loved cereal and milk, pizza, sweets, cookies and milk, sugary stuff, bread. Oh, loved bread. Loved bread. You know what I hated as a kid? Anything green, vegetables, salads, peppers, fruits and vegetables. I could care less about. Nowadays, as an adult, I love vegetables. Seriously, like today I had steamed broccoli. Like I love that, but you wouldn't catch me eating that as a kid. But it's because the palate is different. Your palate has to evolve, and that doesn't mean that you just give up because your child doesn't like broccoli. I think, and Ted talks about this later on in the chapter in Patience and Persistence, you still have to introduce balance into your child's life, especially when it comes to a diet. They can't just eat bread all the time and cereal all the time. You're going to have to keep being persistent amongst the face of opposition from your child. It starts with just understanding that they're not going to like certain things. It's going to be rare, but that doesn't mean that you should stop. Now, what that does mean is you got to attack it from different angles. So, second bullet point there, present stuff in smaller portions. So then you have something to work up to. If you just and here's the other thing, too, is you put a whole bowl of broccoli in front of your child, they're not going to eat it. They're going to look at it and say, there's just no way. No way. But you start off small, and then you could work your way up to having like a full serving of broccoli or a couple servings of vegetables or whatever have you. But you present it in the small portion first just to get them used to it. Chances are any new foods are going to be a shock to your toddler system, just like human touches to a newborn baby, because they've never felt like that, never felt anything like that before. So it's going to go the same with food. Go into it thinking that, hey, this is going to be like jumping in cold water in the deep end. It's going to be a real rush. So don't try to build Rome all in one day, and just present in a small portion. Start off small, work up to big. That leads to the last point, patience and persistence. You got to have it because you're going to face it. So doesn't mean that you give up. It's just keep the train chugging. Keep chopping wood as coach, there was coach in the NFL, Jack Del Rio. Keep chopping wood. You gotta stay at it. That's the only way you're gonna get through, and eventually you will get through. So that was last time we're talking about all about dinner and making your child's food disappear. Today we're talking about bedtime. So how do you get your child ready for rest at night? Well, first point we talk about is, and these bullet points from, you're going to notice here, guys, that we're going to reflect a lot of the same principles that Ted has brought up in other aspects of your child's day. So prepare a special place just for them. Where else did we see this before? Well, we saw it actually at dinner time, where you should have assigned seats for your kids just so there isn't any drama at dinner time and nobody's fighting over chairs. Each person has their own assigned seat, and that's just that. Then we can just move on with actually making the food disappear and appear in your toddler's stomach. It's going to be the same thing here at bedtime. Sleeping is not a social event. This was how Ted starts off the chapter. And it totally makes sense, because this isn't a time of day where your child should need you there the whole night. Your child's going to have to just accept that they're going to be alone in their room. You're just going to be right down the hall, so everything's going to be fine. This isn't like I'm dropping you off at daycare. Even that is not a big deal because you're coming back. So you have to convey, again, like you did at the drop-off, that this isn't some big event. It's all going to be okay. You're at home. I'm down the hall. I shouldn't need to be in this same room with you because I have my own special place. I have my own bedroom, and you have your own bedroom here. All right. You have to create a place where they know that it's time to rest. And this is where Ted talks about in this chapter. I didn't include it in the PowerPoint, but refraining from using your child's bedroom as anything other than a place of sleep. So don't go and punish your child by sending them to their room. And then you wonder why they can't fall asleep, because they feel as if this room, they're in their room because they're being punished. So they're not going to want to fall asleep. You see what I'm saying here. So one mistake parents make is lying down with their children. But basically all that you're telling your children is that you're going to be with them all night and when they wake up. And when you're not there, well, now they throw a fuss. It becomes a vicious cycle, and it's going to be hard to break that cycle. So instead, Ted advocates for having something in the room that's waiting for them, that's like their special item that helps them fall asleep, like a stuffed animal or like a blanket. And Ted talks about here how he prefers the blanket because he doesn't want, you wouldn't want your kid playing in bed and not falling asleep, right? And that's maybe what a stuffed animal could lead to, is them just ending up playing in bed with not just their stuffed animal, but other toys. So that's where having a blanket, inanimate object there, it's just going to cause less of a fuss. Your kid's not going to be staying up playing cops and robbers with a bunch of stuffed animals. I mean, don't get me wrong, their imagination could still go wild, and we could pretend that blanket is a stuffed teddy bear still, but you get what my picture is here. The blanket is not there to be a playmate. It's there to have some comfort, but also ultimately the goal is to get your child some much needed rest from a busy day. And a toddler's bed should not be used for that playtime. Next, Have a pre-bedtime schedule. Where else have we talked about this? Well, at the drop-off, or excuse me, at the pickup. Because we've mentioned this many a times, guys, on how different toddlers and adults are when it comes, as far as time goes, when it comes to time, and how we perceive time differently than younger children. And I've said it before, younger children use more so like environmental cues to be aware of passages of time, whereas I'll look at like my phone or the clock, like my wristwatch, things temporal, like time, like by numerically, whereas children are going to realize that it's the end of the day when they see your face, pick them up. Then they're going to know that, hey, okay, school's over, it's time to go home. They're not going to realize that from the clock reading 3:30 or whatever time your children finish school. So you have to kind of be aware about this and not startle them by just saying, hey, it's time for bed, no questions asked. It's going to be no wonder that they don't want to go to bed because they were kind of taken off guard by your announcement. And it's not the fact that you made the announcement, it's just that you made it without the realization that your child is going to be startled by that. They're going to be caught off guard. So Ted advocates for making announcements before they happen. That's the key word, well before they happen. So to give your toddler time to kind of wrap up and get into sleep mode. So give your toddler a sense that bedtime is approaching, whether that's by saying, hey, it's bath time. Hey, it's time to put on those PJs. Hey, it's time to clean up, or hey, it's time to brush your teeth. All those things could convey to a toddler, oh, I usually do this stuff before going to bed. Oh, it must be close to bedtime. Because your toddler's not really going to know if you say, hey, 15 minutes and the video game's got to be shut off. They're not going to have as much of a sense of what 15 minutes is. I mean, they might, right? But it's not going to be as strong of an indicator as, hey, PJ's got to be on. Okay, PJ's on. Oh, I only wear PJs in my bed. Oh, yeah, it must be bedtime. Next, follow a clear and fun routine. I mean, this one's kind of self-explanatory. If you enjoy what you do, I remember somebody told me this. Actually, I think it was my high school football coach. If you enjoy doing something, you'll never have to work a day in your life. So if you have a fun routine, then it makes it seem less daunting. Then it makes it seem like, hey, no, actually, I want to do this. I want to do this. So the key is going to be transitioning your toddler from one task to another task to another task to bedtime. All right? And you do that by having clear instructions, clear announcements, like what we had mentioned in the previous slide. But also, why not make it fun? Why not have, bath time be fun? Why not have, putting away toys being fun? Or why not make it a race to see who can put on their PJs first? Or make it a race to see who can brush their teeth the fastest. Similar to how we made games out of getting out of the house in an orderly fashion. And, starting off with, who can put on their shoes the quickest, or who can find their jacket the fastest. It's going to be the same here. And the more fun you make it, the more they're going to want to participate in it. Which leads to the next slide. Participation leads to cooperation. So the tasks that you give your child are going to kind of give them a sense of ownership, and that they're not just going at this by the seat of their pants and they're not in total control. Give your toddler a sense of that ownership or that control, of that cooperation, that participation. And they're going to be more willing to go along with it rather than if you sit there and physically are making them get in their pajamas. Right? It's like from the movie Inception, where the idea has got to come from the person. Like they tried to implant that. They wanted the company to break up, right? But they needed to plant the idea in the guy's head. That was the only way they're going to do it, not by forcing his hand or like making him do it, bribing him to do it. No, it came from inside of himself. That's the most powerful way to do it. It's kind of the same thing here with your toddler. Basically, kind of make it like it's their idea, or make it so that they, again, it's a clear and fun routine and they're in control of it. They're participating in it. I think that's all I have to say about that. Except that they will not do it as quickly as you. That's true. But that, again, that doesn't mean that you should stop letting your toddler participate. It's just that it might take a little bit longer of a time, but just realize that you're giving them an important skill set, and that's, time management, that's organization, transitioning from one task to another. You're giving them good skills, but you got to start off small and know that it's going to take a while. And praise. Last, I think, is this the last bullet point? Limit your in-bed routine to 5 minutes. So where have we seen this before? Well, how about in the drop-off, where your drop-off should be short and sweet? It should convey that you will be back, and it should convey that this is not a big event. So the same thing at bedtime. You probably shouldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to miss you so much," even though you're going to be right down the hallway. And you shouldn't overstay your welcome, because then all of a sudden you're giving your toddler the impression that you're going to be there with them all night. Limit it. Limit it to 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, do your best to just wrap things up. What Ted said that he liked to do was give them a binary choice between a book or a song. He completed the book or the song, and then that was it. That was it. He was out of the room, kiss goodnight, lights go off, the night light comes on, and he's off doing, his own thing. Do not give in to requests for more here. Don't lose that battle for, hey, just one more book, or hey, just one more song. You got to draw the line. And again, you got to convey that this isn't a big deal. We'll do another book tomorrow. That's how it's going to go down. So limit your in-bed routine to, 5 minutes. Just limit it. Have it be very, very short is all that Ted's trying to say here. Oh, yeah, and that was the last bullet point. Guys, thank you very much for listening this far. Thank you very much for listening to this series. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that to you guys. This isn't the end of the book. We have part 3 of Ted's parenting adventure here. Part 3 is all about life lessons. We're very close to the end of this book. We're like pretty much more than 2/3 of the way done. And part 3, we only have a couple videos left. And then I'll be making an announcement on the new book that we will be traversing through. At some point at 2, I gotta put on another JavaScript video for y'all. But big things coming. Again, check out the blog. We have a blog post for bedtime with your toddler. And that's going to do it for blog posts for Look Out on Parenting here. The next blog posts you see are going to be the new book that I'm doing, which I'm super excited to announce. Guys, thank you very much. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. And I'll see you all in the next video. My name is Chris. This has been Chee-Tash. Take care.